Hello, CPAC. Love you. Appreciate it, guys. Gosh, you guys have been out there all day. God, this is amazing. I have to tell you, especially now that I do my own show in my own studio, I don't get out enough. And it's wonderful to actually get out there and see the people and actually glad hand with people who watch the show. Yes, it can be like a little heady because you're like people at an event like this, they come over, they say the nicest things. And you can almost be in danger of getting a little too drunk on your own wine. Like, wow. Oh God. I think you meant JD Vance. I think that's what you're, JD, he's 48. So yeah, 49. So you can start to get a little drunk on your own wine. However, the good thing is God is always there to balance things out for you. God or my mom. And bring it down a peg when you need it. And this reminds me of the inauguration just last month. I went with so many great people they were loving Trump. They were loving just the rebirth of our nation. And this one guy came over to me. He was so excited to see me. He was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. Can I please have a picture with you? I'm like, oh, of course, I'd be happy to. Took a selfie. He's like, I'm sending this to my mom. She's never going to believe this. I'm like, oh, I think I'm a pretty big deal. I'm like really making an impression on this man. And he walks away and we hear him say, I can't believe I just met Carrie Underwood. So thank you, God. I appreciate that. It's important to remember who you are and who you definitely are not. But it was kind of a compliment either way. Anyway, speaking of big names you definitely will know, have you heard about what's happening with the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case? All right, I'm just going to walk because I actually held that. Can you hear me okay like this? Okay. Okay. Are you obsessed with this case? All right. There are millions of people who are obsessed with this case. I'm going to give you a little background on it, and then you will be obsessed with it. And I'll tell you, there's a reason why conservatives in particular are following this so closely. It makes sense to me. All right. So you know who Blake Lively is, right? Most people know her. Yeah. See, the people who are booing, they know. Then there's this guy, Justin Baldoni, who's not as well known. And see, they've been following the story. So he optioned this book called It Ends With Us, and it's about domestic violence. And he managed to get Blake Lively to star in his movie, across from him. He played the abusive guy and she played the woman. And this is the thrill of a lifetime for this guy. He had done another TV project, but nobody knows who he is. So he gets Blake Lively. She's married to Ryan Reynolds. These are Hollywood A-listers. He's going to put him on the map. And she agrees to be his female co-star. Great, they're off to the races. Well, shortly into production, Blake Lively is very dissatisfied with virtually everything around her and decides to allege that Justin Baldoni, forgive me, very effeminate, evolved, modern feminist man bun kind of guy, is like this virulent sexual harasser who can't stop harassing one of the biggest stars in Hollywood in front of everybody on the set. I've got questions. I'm not sure why he would do that, whether he'd have the guts to do that, or whether the man bun is the most likely harasser in general. But you never know. Sometimes the ones who kind of bend over backward to be as woke as possible are the most, so okay, I'm open-minded about it. This is going someplace. Would you trust me? I'll get us there. So she says he's been harassing her, and they bring in some team, and he says, whatever you want, I will do it or not do it. You tell me. So they go forward. Well, we move forward in the story, and she's got to go do PR for the film. And she goes out in this past summer, and she had about 2 minutes of bad PR. The problem for Blake Lively, in my opinion, is that she does not improve upon acquaintance. And so the more time we got to spend with Blake Lively, the less we liked her, the more her promotional efforts for a film about domestic violence felt off. She was full of giggles and laughter and wanted to promote her liquor brand. Nothing says domestic violence like a bottle of tequila. What? So it felt weird, and she started to get hit by some of the media for being insensitive. Then this one reporter re-upped a video in which she interviewed a then 8-month pregnant Blake, and kicked off the interview as you would do as a journalist if there's something obviously different about somebody physically by saying, oh, you have such a cute baby bump. And Blake was taken aback, even though it was obvious, and said, oh, so do you. The reporter was now pregnant, it was a nasty jibe at her for no reason. So normal people at home who don't care about this woman at all are looking at her like, I don't like her. She seems like a bully. She seems like somebody who punches down to somebody who's only trying to do something nice for her. So negative press swirled around her during this whole, like a month, right? Later, she would describe this as though it was the pile-on against Trump. Honestly, it's like most of us, especially in Republican politics or the news, this is called Tuesday for us. It's like, grow up. You're in the public eye. You've got probably hundreds of millions, thanks to your husband. Just shut up. No one cares that you got a couple of bad articles about you in the Daily Mail. She winds up suing Justin Baldoni. She files a complaint with the Human Rights Commission out in California saying, he sexual harassed me, and then he retaliated me by pushing all this bad press about me. He was behind it because I found his agent, his PR agent's nasty text saying, we can ruin her. If we have to ruin her, we will. And those texts do exist. And Blake Lively went to the New York Times, and the New York Times wrote the sympathetic, poor Blake Lively story. Oh, we were all wrong about her and her weird PR. She's actually a good person and a Me Too victim. And then Justin Baldoni did something very smart. He hired the lawyer who represented me in my fight with NBC News, which ended well. His name is Brian Friedman, and he's a legal genius. Highly recommend if you ever, God forbid. And Brian Friedman knows how to fight back against a bully. Trust me. And he started telling everybody Justin Baldoni's side. He told us that Justin Baldoni denied those claims of sexual harassment and only tried to appease Blake Lively because she was such a high-maintenance diva bully brat. He had to bend over backwards just to get her to shut up and complete the film. He told us that Justin Baldoni claims she tried to take over his movie because she has a history of saying, okay, I'll be the star, but what I secretly want to do is direct it and edit it and produce it. I want all the roles for me and only me. I want full control because I am a controlling bully. That Justin Baldoni, ultimately, by the time they got to the premiere, was mandated by Blake Lively to spend the night in the basement away from his co-stars and didn't even get to see the final cut of his own movie because Blake Lively insisted that she be the one to approve it until he watched it on the screen with his editors, who also hadn't seen it because her editors finished it up. That's the situation he says he was in. So it's a real he said, she said. Who's telling the truth? Is he some creep harasser who took a shot at somebody like Blake, jeopardizing his movie and his future career? Or is she just extremely high maintenance and someone who plays the victim when she doesn't get her way? Well, I've got my opinion, and I think you can guess what it is based on our little discussion here. The other thing is Brian Friedman produced text messages between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. So we don't have to take his side's word for it. And what they showed is that Blake Lively has got a bit of a God complex. She's texting Justin Baldoni about how she sees herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, mother of dragons. Did you watch that? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So Khaleesi is stunningly beautiful. She's this effervescent, strong character with temerity and resilience, and she's fierce. She's literally the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones. That's her. That's me. That's Blake. And she says, and I've got the greatest dragons on earth, Ryan Reynolds and my best friend, who is Taylor Swift, though she's not named or they blacked it out. So she's telling him, I'm mother of dragons and my dragons will cut a bitch. And my dragons are named Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. So the message is pretty clear. Like, okay, she's a powerful person with powerful friends. And she's got a bit of a God complex. All right, now we get into litigation. She files her human rights campaign. The movie comes out. It does all right. He's in the basement for the premiere. And he hires Brian Friedman and countersues her and the New York Times for $400 million, claiming this is a massive defamation. Okay? Drags Ryan Reynolds into it as well. And now we're off to the races. And where do things stand now as a result of all this? As a result of Blake Lively apparently wanting control of a movie she did not control, wanting to get the camel's nose under the tent as an actress and then take over the entire production, mission creep on steroids, and was shocked when Justin Baldoni did not want her to do those extra things. And then when it all blows up, lawsuits and cross lawsuits, and Blake Lively, who I believe thought she would be received or perceived as an Alyssa Milano or Ashley Judd Me Too victim is instead looking a lot more like Amber Heard. How did that work out? Bad move. And honestly, to me, the lesson is, A, be a good person. But B, if you're a Hollywood star or any sort of a public figure, would you just please take your licks in the press and shut up about it? People have real problems. They don't give two craps that you had a couple of negative articles written about you in the Daily Mail. And in her complaint, the thing she's bitching about is that this terrible PR campaign that was opened up against her hurt sales of her liquor brand and her hair care products. Oh my God. Right? Like, while this is going on, inflation's like at 9%. Get a grip. Okay. So it was a terrible idea. They shouldn't have done any of this, but I think the reason that conservatives are so interested in this is a couple of fold. Number one, you seem to be watching the unwrapping of a public figure, like this, the unspooling. You know you've caught someone in what you believe is a lie. That's how I feel. And it's amazing to see it told and to kind of gone down the lane like, okay, maybe, here we go. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Because Baldoni's released these text messages. She says he inappropriately smelled my neck when we were doing a scene. Then you see the scene. They're dancing, they're caressing, they're making out. It's like, but the neck thing was too much when he smelled it? Like, all right. They went into my trailer when I was breastfeeding my baby. You're like, that's disgusting. What's wrong with these people? Then you see his text message where she says, come on over to my trailer. I'm breastfeeding baby, but it's fine. Yeah, she says his weird producing partner showed me porn. I'm like, these people are freaks. Then you see what he actually says he showed her, the producing partner, which was she was filming a birth scene in the movie, and it was a still shot of a water birth his wife had at home. You can't see anything X-rated. It's a PG photo. You can't see anything at all. It's like artistic. It made me wish I had a water birth. All right, so you wind up kind of feeling a little bitter. And this is where we come in. Because everyone in this room, because you're here, I know this about you, you've been gaslit to high heaven every time you've picked up a newspaper in the United States. Every time you've turned on CNN. You've been lied to. You've been bullied or seen others with lesser power bullied by the media and the leftist Democrats. You have been the victim of overbearing and controlling leftists who think they are the final arbiters of what's best for you and your life. And it's wonderful to see someone fighting back, right? She's become like an avatar for leftist overreach in a different, special way. I really believe this is why so many people on the right are kind of into this story. Just kind of want to see how it ends. Will it end as it ended for us on November 5th? Because we were pretty happy with how that went. Right? Or is it going to be something else? I mean, only time will tell. But it's bringing up like room to explore the past 10 years that we've all been through, and how, you know, Trump put a period at the end of it, we hope, or at least the beginnings of the end, by winning. So the bully thing. What was one of the biggest stories this past year? Daniel Penny. Right? You guys know who that is. Daniel Penny stood up for others on the New York City subway when there was a crazed man who was out of his mind on drugs threatening to kill people, and got him in a chokehold, and the man ultimately later passed, and he got charged by that insane crank, Alvin Bragg, and had to defend himself against criminal charges. Yes, boo, he deserves it. So Daniel Penny got bullied by Alvin Bragg and the media, which did not stand up for him either. There was Nick Sandmann. Remember him? Look, I love how you guys know these names. You're my people. Nick Sandmann goes out there in front of the Supreme Court to stand up for life, and CNN portrays him as this villain, as this smirking, crappy, arrogant villain. Look at him, and he's sneering at a Native American who's just there minding his own business. Totally the opposite. Totally opposite. Nick Sandmann was standing there respectfully while he was being antagonized by the Native American who was dancing aggressively in his face and getting up on him and mocking him. That's why CNN had to pay him in a defamation case. That was settled. Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse tried to do what the Biden administration would not, and go to Wisconsin and actually protect the neighboring town. It did not go well. He wound up shooting 3 guys. He was acquitted on all charges ultimately. But before we knew much at all about that case, Joe Biden got out there as he was running for president. This happened prior to Biden taking over. As he was running for president, and called Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist. There was zero evidence of this. The kid was 18 years old. He's got the possible next, at that point possible, ultimately yes, president of the United States telling everyone he's a white supremacist, something for which he never apologized, Joe Biden. There was no evidence of that, none. So the left likes to bully people who are weak. He's a kid. Now he's on trial for triple homicide in one case, and you think it's a great time to pile on him publicly as the possible next president? There's something wrong with that. Something's off about a guy in a party that does it and supports it. And so the bully nature of the left has been on full display, as has its controlling nature. They want to tell us what we can eat. They want to tell us what we can drink. They want to tell us how fast the water can come out of our showers, what we can drive, what we can put in the tank, what we can turn on our stove with. I mean, it's over the top. What we can think, what we can feel, where we can pray, what we have to put in our arms, what we have to put in our children's arms, our babies' arms. It's a lot. They seem to be really drunk on their power. And we have to encounter this at every turn. And then we see that same camel's nose thing. Under the tent, you give them a little, and then they start exploiting it and taking it too far. May I remind you of a little thing called USAID? Right? There's a poll. I actually, you guys are going to talk to Caroline Levitt in a bit. I interviewed her for my show today. And we were talking about the CNN poll. It shows Trump's approval numbers. They fell a little, a couple points since he took office, because he's doing things that the left may or may not like. And his numbers were kind of down on the closure of USAID. Okay, well, let's look at the crosstab. How did they ask it? It was like, do you support Trump's decision to close the agency that is helping those suffering abroad in humanitarian crises? Right? Like, would you like the children to die as a result of what Trump did? Yes or no? It doesn't say, do you support helping African people prevent HIV/AIDS? Virtually every American would say, yes, we can spend some money on that. Yes, we do. And also, then we will take that money and we will divert it for trans operas in Colombia. Who the hell said yes to that? We literally spent $70,000 on DEI dance in Ireland. They already have Riverdance. I stole that from the Ruthless fellas. But it's ridiculous. It's too much. It's overreach. And then, inevitably, when you call them out on the nonsense, right, when you send Elon in there with Doge and the Doge tech guys and they start kicking the tires, they play the victim. Just like Blake Lively. How dare you? I am subjected to all these stories, right? You're subjected to the stories because you did something wrong. And that's the way the media and the world works, and because you deserve it. So we're tired of their games. The games are outdated. The tactics are outdated. They're old and they're tired. And speaking of the Associated Press, the media. The media's days of pretending they are holier than thou are over. President Trump kicked them out, not of the White House press briefing room, but kicked them out of the Oval and out of the Air Force One seat they had, because they refused to call it Gulf of America. Now, this is interesting because AP is an American company. They say we have to do it because we report in international countries. Like the people of Ghana are going to be upset if you start reporting on it, as folks in Somalia are really going to get upset. You're an American company. You're incorporated here. You're headquartered in New York. This is a stick in the eye of the president and nothing more. It's obvious. Trump knows it, and so do we. And the thing about the AP is they love word changes, name changes. They live for this crap. Just as soon as they were told they have to call girls who transition to boys, they did it. Boys who transition to girls, they did it. They went with the pronouns, the whole thing. You can't even read an AP story about some trans thing without leaving utterly confused. Now there's no more somebody born male or somebody born female. It's assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth, like it was a sin committed by the doctor, and it still is very ambiguous. They love that name change. They did it right away. Illegal immigrants, we don't have those anymore if you read the AP. They got rid of that term. It's too offensive. Now you have to say undocumented immigrant. What does that mean? An illegal immigrant makes sense to everybody. Now, undocumented, they got rid of the term crisis at the southern border when Joe Biden was president. Could no longer say crisis. As soon as the numbers hit 100,000 a month, the word crisis kept appearing. Not in the AP, we don't do that. That's not okay. Even though Jay Johnson, Obama's Homeland Security Secretary, said it's a crisis if you have 30,000 in a month. This time under Biden, it was 100,000. AP gets rid of the word crisis and didn't bring it back even when we had 300,000 crossing a month. Forgot that word. They won't say terrorist when they're talking about Islamic terrorists. All of these word changes they're totally in favor of, but Gulf of America is a bridge too far. So look, I'll leave you with this. Blake Lively had a point on one thing. Her time as the Hollywood it girl. The days of the left bullying and controlling us without much pushback. The days of the media pretending to be objective and independent and demanding to be left alone. It really does end with us. And not a moment too soon. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for being here. God bless you. And God bless America.